back, guys. Thanks, clappers.
Thank you.
We just had 3 All-State clappers in here.
You know, they did really well in the auditions.
Yeah, you guys made it through the auditions. We're so excited.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Hey, I'm Jack Hinkle.
And I'm Steve Peterson. Welcome back to Chops Podcast for another exciting episode for Monday, April 15th. You get your taxes done?
Yeah. Oh, today's tax day, isn't it?
You go, yeah. No.
I did. I did.
You? Yeah, I didn't do them, but,
You don't do your own taxes?
Well, I'm married.
Just what does that mean?
My wife prefers to take care of them.
She does your taxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, that's just been our division of duties.
I always get it done in January. I just get it going. So we're good. Feels good to be back in the studio, It's been a week
after.
In room.
Bye, clappers. After being in the band room for a night or a day.
It does. But it was a good time.
I had fun.
I feel like I learned. No, I don't feel like I did learn things.
Yeah.
It was really helpful to talk to colleagues. Hear colleagues talk to us.
I think that should be what we should do for professional development all the time.
All the time. Let's do it.
Group talking.
Yeah.
Group talking. Okay, so it's like super nice out.
Super nice. And we're going to be back in school for a few more hours tonight working with our bands.
That's true.
That's good. And today, Steve, today's Monday, and you're like, duh, Jack, it's Monday. But I was listening to another podcast about breaks and what it's like when you come back from a break. And I was listening to them talk about it and say, teaching is going to get worse after a break. But it's so worth it because everyone's recharged and refreshed.
Okay.
And they said, if you feel that way, every Monday, if you come in, every Monday is going to get worse, that's a different story. Breaks, you got 9 days, but today's Monday. And sometimes, I have this voice in my head sometimes is that maybe the kids aren't giving their best.
Mm-hmm.
And a voice in my head goes, well, it's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say to that voice, will you stop?
Mm-hmm.
Will you stop it?
Mm-hmm.
They can do this. I can do this. I don't care what day of the week it is. We do this on Saturday at midnight,
Right.
we could roll. And so I had some moments today that I needed to calm that voice down and listen to another voice and say, look at what these kids can do on a Monday. And kind of go from there. And that inner dialogue, Steve, that was going on all day today.
The inner dialogue.
I guess you could call it a monologue since it's just me, but there were definitely 2 voices.
Well, I think if it's 2 voices, it's technically a dialogue.
That's what they say.
So you were having that discussion.
I was. I didn't want to get grumpy today. I did not want to get grumpy. I don't like
Do
getting
you ever
grumpy.
go into class and saying, I want to get grumpy?
Direct. I'd say I want to be direct some days. I want to make sure that they know what's going on.
Do
I know
they,
what's going on.
when you get direct, do they feel like do you think that's interpreted as grumpy?
To a high schooler, possibly. I think my grumpy to not grumpy ratio is very good as a teacher. I feel like I could count on my hands the number of times I've gotten grumpy at kids in the classroom. So I think when I do get grumpy, if I make that choice to show that card, I think they respond pretty well because they know I think. But I wanted to really celebrate the good and teach from the light.
So how did that go?
Here's how it went. Piano class today. Now, there were some students gone in that class today for a field trip, so the class was smaller than normal. And in an already small class,
Right.
It can kind of change the vibe a little bit
Yep.
if you have a few kids missing. So things were kind of slow moving in that temperature, and I really wanted to keep that pace going up, and I was trying to correct that. And I saw a kid reach for a phone right in front of me and start getting on it.
You said, what are you doing?
I stood up. I thought about it. I was like, say my name. Put it down.
And, yeah.
What do you think you're doing? So the kid was on the phone, and I stood up just to make sure if I was going to, say something, I was correct. Kid saw me stand up. Kid saw what was going on and put the phone down.
Yeah.
And I think I said, thank you for making that choice. And I had to stop myself because I almost went nudge, but I tried to reel it back and just hug.
That's good, Jack.
Thank you.
That's good. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack just used his self-control.
Self-control. and trying to make sure the kids know that like it's a good thing. It's a good thing to make those choices. So that's where we're heading this week, Steve. Seeing the good.
Seeing the good.
Because there's so many times post spring break, right, that you feel like a madman. I'm making that assumption.
I am a madman.
You are a madman,
I feel
so
like
it's even
I'm
worse.
getting mad or just like creating some character in my head. I'm turning into some ferocious weirdo.
And I feel similar that post spring break, everything, it's school is in accelerando, right? Everything just gets quicker and quicker, and there's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then like the last 2 weeks of school, it is rubato. Speaking of my music people.
But it's like fortissimo. It's like so loud and chaotic you can't even tell what's going on.
And
but
the
it's
written
like
tempo's 20.
And you go to bed on Monday night and wake up and it's Sunday. And you're like, oh
wait,
no,
wait
it's
a second.
we're in a time
What?
vortex.
Stop
Wait,
it.
What?
Mom. It's true. But like right now, like we have our big concerts coming up, and there's like 4 of them, and they all happen within a month. You know, Jazz Cafe's a month and 2 days away.
It's a month from this Friday. 4 weeks from this Friday. 4 school weeks. Yes.
It sneaks up. And then we got that. We got Band Festival. We got ISMA.
Got contests.
Another ISMA. Possibly state finals if that pans out. I mean, there's just like tons of stuff. And everyone feels like they're on the grind, right?
Yes.
And as a teacher, specifically for us, because we get to put our kids on stage pretty soon, we have to be pretty demanding of excellence. And you can demand it from the dark side of the force. You can use the light side of the force.
Yes.
And I am doing my darndest to stay on the light side.
Well, I'd like to double dip on Jack's teaching from the light. I have taught alongside Jack in the last 3 weeks where he's been on the podium and things, if there were 4 wheels to put on the track, there was like 1 wheel on the
We
track.
had 0, and it was just the car
And
body.
we are just like scraping down the lines and sparks are flying off, and
No brakes.
it's
Didn't come
pretty
with brakes. It was cost
pretty
extra.
clear that we're coming to a grinding halt. And I'm like, oh boy. And then he'll stop.
You're like
and
the
say,
pit crew coming out with the fire extinguishers.
He comes out and he goes, Heather, quote, fake name. Hey, Heather, really glad you're here today. I'm like, wow, dude, you are so into the light. Like, and it's good. It's good because he's like singling out kids. He's like, hey, I'm happy to see you. I'm really glad you're here. And it's very authentic. And I do give you props for that because I know that is a conscious choice. And it's not a meaningless comment, but it's a well-placed comment. It's It's full of meaning.
It is.
And it's also a backstop for you that allows the energy to at least be directed to a different place. I wouldn't say changes the energy, it just directs it in a different place. And then, Heather, I really like the way, I'm so glad you're here. You're such a positive presence, and that can be a good thing.
Yes.
Because a lot of times I would imagine if you're on a team or in an ensemble or in a classroom and you're having a hard time, like the ensemble or the group's having a hard time, and the coach or the teacher says, cut, the kids kind of wince and go, okay, here it comes. And they don't expect I'm really glad you're here,
The kids in many ensembles right now across the state of Indiana rehearsing their ISMA music are probably getting they're getting like hammered right now.
Yes, they are.
Like everywhere, all kids. And it's not a good feeling if you're playing through your music and you can't, and something falls apart. Now, the good thing is you can just do it again. That's practicing, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't need a director to blow up at them. I don't think that's going to make them better. Might make them want to get better out of fear, but I would rather want my kids to get better out of wanting to get better.
Yes.
What was the quote? Swing because you want to,
Not because you have to.
not because you have to. Jazz band with Steve Peterson.
That's it.
So that's where we're moving right now, and I want the kids to feel safe. No, I don't want them to make mistakes right now, but I want them to feel safe. And this was the other thing. I think you were out of the room for this. Like you were
Like
I
ran
don't know,
out of the
making
room.
copies. You're getting more fire extinguishers. I don't know. But the kids were. This was like Thursday. I mirrored what you said to Wind Ensemble the other week, but the kids were a little moving slow. And I said, stop. And I got off the podium. I sat in a chair. And I just put my head in my hand like this. And I said, this is what I see right now. I said, I'm pretty sure I'm the same Mr. Hinkle every day. Like,
Yeah,
I think I do
yeah.
a pretty good job of being consistent. Could you do me that same favor? Can you be the same Sinfonietta every day?
But Jack,
make
if
that
they were the
choice.
same Sinfonietta every day, they wouldn't grow.
Steven, I'm talking about how we approach what we're doing. If you come to the same approach every day,
Isn't that insanity? Doing the same thing, the same.
I'm going to
Same
shut
way.
down this podcast. He's not even asking me the right devil's advocate questions. He's just like, gosh. Can you tell we're exhausted? Okay. No, they need to approach it the same way every day, because how can you get better if you approach it differently? You're like throwing darts at 4 boards with a blindfold on.
Right. You need to have a step of consistency. Then you can see where you're landing.
Yes.
But you have to jump off the same way each time.
Because aren't kids really fortunate to have consistent teachers every day? Like, could you imagine if, like, Mondays you were grumpy pants, Tuesdays you were happy pants, Thursdays you were crazy guy? Like, they would have to remember which day it is in order to be a good student for you.
We should say, people on our Instagram or TikTok, like, what is the overall emotional what is the overall mood of your teachers, like, through the years? What would you say the overall mood is? And don't, like, mention certain people's names, but
What mood are your teachers? Like, did you have a kind, warm-hearted teacher?
yeah,
Did you
like,
have
well,
the
would we say
demanding-
like 8, 9, 10 are like consistently positive, funny,
Okay.
smile a lot,
Yeah.
encouraging? Then you got your 5, 6, 7. They're just kind of more pedestrian, kind of in the middle of the road, just saying, do it again, and not giving you too much shade, but not giving you too much sunshine. And then you got the 2, 3, 4s who are riding you all the time and saying, do it better, and that's not good enough, and kind of grumpy about it. And
Yeah.
then one would be like some,
falling
movie,
asleep at the
some
desk?
some movie from the 80s of some guy with his feet up on the desk,
Breakfast Club? Oh,
exactly,
yeah.
something like that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's really important. And I don't think kids realize how lucky they are with that stuff. And then some of them, they go out into the workforce
Yeah.
and they may have a boss that is little something on column A one day and a little something on column B the other day. And they're trying to, like, guess. And that just does not lead to an effective environment.
Yes.
And I hope I'm not, and I don't want the kids to be like, oh, wow, I'm so lucky I have a that's not the point. Like, you can't function without that. And we have to teach that to our kids, that, like, your consistency matters, because if I was inconsistent, this class wouldn't work. So think of how great the class could work if you were consistent. And it all comes back to teaching from the light. That's not a Jack Hinkle quote.
Can
by
you
the way.
go
That's
into
Mike Poe quote.
teaching into the light? I kind of remember that a little bit. Is that a book?
No, it's Mike Pote.
Well, I know, but didn't he get it from a book?
I don't know. Maybe
I
he
think
did.
he did.
Oh, no, he did get it from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the book,
Okay.
but
I think it's called Teaching from the Light.
I should do my research before I start pressing record.
Okay,
Aren't
so-
there like a couple tenets of teaching from the light?
Yeah, what are they?
I was
Oh,
asking you.
Okay, one of them is you assume that other people in the room are smarter than you. Isn't that one of them?
It could be. It sounds. I would believe it. I buy it.
Okay.
That
assume
everybody
that
in the
everybody's
room.
trying their best.
Yes. No kids opting out. Assume that. That's where you start.
Do you agree with that? You can't agree with that. You
It's-
better
it's-
not say
you-
you agree with that.
Will you let me speak? I'm gonna shut off your microphone. It's the point of it is to approach it that way. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, right? Isn't that the point? Like, you're supposed to approach it from that way. Because you've seen teachers that start something with their group. They give them a task, and if they get them wrong, the first thing the teacher might say is,
You weren't been messing around.
yeah,
you
pay
guys would have
attention.
got it right.
You weren't
stupid
trying hard
kids."
enough.
Right.
Come on, like, you're slacking. But if you assume that it's on you before you assume it's on the kids, chances are, well, one, you're right, because it probably is on you if you didn't teach it well, but chances are you'd get them better. But if, like, the last thing you should correct is the effort, unless you're absolutely sure it's the effort. Did we tell our kids today you should try harder?
No.
We didn't.
We just said you need to play in time better.
Yeah, we said, yeah, 1 E into 2, right? I mean, that's all it was today. We're teaching. We're not talking about that stuff.
No, it wasn't into effort. You're correct.
Right. But if that feels like a recipe for disaster. If you constantly are trying to correct your group's effort, something's broken, right?
Yes.
I think you should be praising it a lot. That was a Frank Troika thing, right? Praise what they're doing, and if you can't praise what they're doing, if they're not getting it right, then you praise their effort.
Okay.
Right. I want to go back to the first one you said. Assume everyone in the room is smarter than you. I think with that it was like assume that everybody in the room has something to offer to the group, right?
Yeah.
Because like you can always learn from somebody else, if that's a student in the room. And I think that the example was like you could have in a band class, you could have your lowest chair player play something, and everybody in the room should be able to say something they're doing well.
Yes.
Because they are going to do something well.
Right.
So that always assumes kids are trying. I think there's one more.
There was.
You got it? I don't know if I got it.
I don't want to get on my phone during the podcast. I feel like that's bad etiquette.
I appreciate that. Very thoughtful of you. So there probably is one more. But the idea that you are starting from a basis of good and you're approaching your class from the basis of good makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Do you have any moments today, teaching from the light?
I think I was kind of more, it's kind of like more in the do it again mode today.
That's true. You were kind of a robot.
I was kind of more of a bot. I was like, just do it again. Okay. Say this. Do this. Okay. Let's play it again. I think that kind of had to do with and this is not about energy, but it was supposed to be teaching from the light, but it kind of had to do with my energy, or I felt like that was the right energy that I wanted to give, and just kind of the more like objective, kind of figure it out kind of stuff, and keep it going at a quick pace.
I think there are moments you could have turned to the dark side pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The linchpin for us sometimes is that we have worked, Steve and myself, to be very clear when giving directions.
Oh gosh.
I think we've worked on that, right? I feel like the last 3 years, especially.
To make the directions shorter, more concise.
That's it. Here's how it goes. Play measure 29. Just 29. Don't go on. Just 29. Do it again. Again. And then you kind of get that going. But there are times that the directions were not quite followed. And Steve said, basically what I just did. Just try it again.
Right.
Just that measure.
Which teaching from the darkness would be
that would be a great episode.
Would be teaching from the darkness is watching students who are so good at what they're doing, but then you ask you ask for a repetition starting at a specific measure, 39, and to have one of your classmates have to point at your music. That grinds my gears. I always think that is like the ultimate insult to the kid that is sitting down. Like the child is like looking like 39, where in our music maybe you had 41 like highlighted with a square, and you're going 2 measures before that, so you're going 40, 39, right? And then you're working with 12 kids, and like 2 of them are not on it. Like you can just tell by the way their eyes look. They're just like
glazed over,
and they're like pointing at the music, and they're just and then their neighbors, out of a sense of empathy, they reach over
It's so
and
painful.
start touching their music and like telling them, and I
Stop!
that
Stop!
is so
You're spoon
like,
feeding.
that is
You're
so-
giving them the
that
canned
is-
peaches. Get them the Golden
that is-
Corral.
That is so
Stop!
so condescending to those kids, and it's in the name of helping. But it's like, how clueless do you think that person is? Like, can't they figure that out?
Those are the moments I have to remember to teach from the. Okay, here's my saying that I've had to do sometimes that makes me remember I'm teaching from the light.
Okay,
This next statement is not sarcastic. I've had to say that a few times this year.
go.
Example. This next statement is not sarcastic. 40 is the measure before 41. Because you might say to a kid, play 40. And they're like, what? And they do that thing. It's always, you can tell too, because it's like the wait what? It's like the dumb card,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, wait, what? That's when the neighbor like steps in because they're like, dude, you are in a dumpster fire right now. Let me get you
Right.
out.
So you say, instead of saying 40, I know that you've done this sometimes, or a lot of times. You'll say, band, find measure 41. You see 41? Yes. Back up one measure. That's 40, right? Is that what you
Yes.
do?
You kind of got that going too in a sort of model.
Oh.
That's different. That's different. Yeah, you kind of have to scaffold the approach with the directions you give. That's kind of next.
No,
right?
I do. That,
Right.
I think that's very true. I think that has to do with the clear and concise.
Yes.
Is scaffolding.
In scaffolding the directions that you're giving, not the task, but literally how you're saying to
Clear,
do it.
concise, and then a pause.
Yes. Let silence fill the room.
Then they can get on there.
Yes.
Boy, it seems like we're talking a lot about frustration, but we are supposed to be talking about teaching from the light.
Is that bad?
Well, if we're going to call this episode Teaching from the Light, and we're talking about how frustrated we are, our listeners are going to go, what's up with you
Okay,
guys?
wouldn't it be worse if we just said, no, it's fine. It's fine when they make mistakes, and it's fine. It's
Oh.
okay. We're just so
We're being,
patient with our
we're being
kids.
transparent.
No, we're allowed to be upset because that's what makes you better, is that if you aren't doing something well as a kid, that is our job to fix that. And we are always coming back to the tool shed to see what tool we need to pick out to make you better. We're in our tool shed right now. We're picking out the tools.
Right. And you like to talk about behaviors, teaching behaviors as skills,
Love it.
right?
That's my
So
favorite.
talking about rehearsal procedures or classroom procedures are not just they're not behaviors, and they're not they're not behaviors, they're skills. And we're
Yeah.
helping them
Yep.
learn those. And so the way that how we scaffold information to our students helps them be more successful because we're being clear and concise.
Why say many word?
One few word do trick.
Kevin Malone. The perfect example of that too is that like we've kind of built up how our class functions in sixth hour.
Mm-hmm.
If you took that same group of kids, and we've seen this, and you give them like a clinician or a guest
Mm-hmm.
conductor that rehearses them, the kids are usually and this is not our band sixth period, this is any band.
Right.
The kids are usually a little hesitant because they're not sure of how that person teaches.
Right.
And they're not always used to the way
Right.
that person gives instructions. So scaffolding our own classroom behaviors, aka skills in how we teach, is evidenced through that.
Right.
Most teachers don't really bring in like guest teachers. Obviously, yes, substitutes are one thing, but we see this laughing at the
That would be Jack Hinkle. Substitutes. At our school, at Jones Middle School, we offer guest teachers on a regular basis. We call them substitute
What
teachers.
have you called substitute teachers guest teachers? That'd be good. That'd be
Guest
different.
master
Hey,
teachers.
we're having a guest teacher today, guys. Kids would be like,
Um,
ooh, do I need
a
to dress
guest
up?
master teacher.
Guest master teacher, a GMT.
Some dude comes in with a black robe and he's like, hello. He's like a
Hey,
professor.
what's your name? Freddie. Freddie Jones. Jack Black was the OG guest teacher. So all this to say, it's very, I don't want to say tempting because that's not the right word. If you're not intentional, no, let me rephrase that. You need to be intentional to teach from the light.
Oh, absolutely.
You need to be intentional about it, and there should be a voice in your head that is going off with that. It's saying like, you need to do this here. Don't do that.
Well,
do
okay.
this.
So then it takes us to the next idea.
Where's the
Jack.
next idea, Steve?
If you think you're teaching from the light, do you think you live that way too? Or is that just a show that you put on for 6 classes a day, 5 classes a day?
Can you give me like an example of what?
Well,
that
I'm
looks
just thinking.
like if I live from the light.
Well, we've had an episode or two talking about people that are like really attractive to be around because of
I like them, yeah.
how they carry themselves and how they're positive and how they are more interested in you than retelling things about themselves. And they're welcoming you in with their friendship and their interest. And maybe people that are kind of friends, but you just don't see that much. But the way that they greet you and the way that they talk to you is like they choose, even though it'd be easier when you see somebody you haven't seen in 6 months, even though it'd be easier to kind of like friendship from the darkness, and you're in a circle of 6 people talking, and you choose not to ask anything about that person just because it's easier, or you feel self-conscious because you forgot what they were doing. But I think like living from the light would be like stepping in there, like trying to make some kind of a connection, even though it's not the easiest thing to do. The easiest things to do would just be like not say anything.
And we're talking in life.
In life. Like you're going to see some people this weekend. We host our music contest, the state music contest. We have a site here at Concord High School. You're going to see some people that you may not have seen since last year at this time.
Is this an intervention for me?
No,
Are you trying to tell me something?
I just think it's lifestyle.
I don't think I could. I do this for too many hours a day. I don't think I could fake it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Isn't this who we are?
Yeah.
And isn't it, well, but aren't you always trying to chase yourself, like chase who you want to be? Isn't that the
that sounds
This
hopeless.
is like getting no.
That sounds like
No.
I can't catch up with myself. I'm so
Okay.
sad.
I've been thinking about this lately. This is like nothing to do with teaching, but this is just being a human. Is that like one of the gifts of being self-aware? This just like sounds so deep for chops.
Okay.
One of the gifts of being self-aware is that you decide who you get to be. Anytime you ask a question, you're basically like someone, or anytime you're given a situation to respond to, so you're just like talking to somebody, you're basically playing a video game once you're self-aware, because you can say, how do I want to respond to this?
Exactly.
You're not a kid anymore, and you just like do what you know to do. It's like, how do I want to respond to
Right.
this?
You don't have to act on impulsivity,
No.
and you get to choose the direction that conversation takes.
You get to be who you want to be.
Exactly.
That's teaching from the light.
Right.
So, yes?
We're saying the same thing.
Yeah. I just thought you were telling me I need to.
No,
You're
I
like,
wasn't
Jack,
telling
are you faking it? Is this all?
No.
Is this all a act? You
Well,
and your
no,
teaching thing.
I'm thinking that that's what others might think. But I think if you're really teaching from the light, you're living from the light.
Okay. If you think teachers are like acting,
You're right.
you're
Because
right.
sometimes
Most of the time it is.
well, sometimes you have to act like a complete nut job.
But you're choosing to act.
Yes.
And if you're choosing to act in any job that's not acting, you're doing you're being you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can't get through the day with like you can't get through
Oh,
the year.
yeah,
you can't get
can.
through the year with trying to be someone you're not.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Oh, here we go.
Welcome to
Are you
my-
just wanting to fight today? Is this what you want? Jack, let's record today. I want to fight. Let's just pick something that we can just disagree on the whole time, and I can make you feel like a fool.
No. You can teach like that for a year. And I think you can teach like that for a long time. And that's why people aren't happy in their job. I told you that already when I started teaching Kentucky. That was my thing. Why I wanted to leave teaching after 2 years. Because I was miserable. Because I wasn't like teaching like anything that was like me. I was just going through a bunch of hoops and steps and I didn't even know what I was doing and I was miserable.
So what changed?
I started to see the students as obviously the prime interest of the process, not me.
There have been some moments recently that Steve has said to the kids, "You are the most important raw material."
True.
Right?
No kids, no school.
No kids, no job.
No kids, no school, no job.
No bills. No spring break trips. No,
No.
but you've told the kids this because we can get into moments with our students in the band program where they feel like they may feel like they're a cog in the machine
Yes.
of a performance, of a concert. And Steve does a very good job of saying, you are the most important thing of this. Yes, this is a concert that your parents paid for to attend, but this is about you. Everything we do at this school is kid-centric, kid-focused. Just remember that. Everything we do is for you.
Right.
And
Well,
not
and-
to it's
yeah.
not to say that they owe us. It's about them.
No.
It's about
And
them.
and I think a lot of times I say that out loud for the students, but more so for myself. To kind of slap myself in the back of the neck.
Yep. When you're looking at the clock and you have 6:30 attendance and it's 6:29 and there's 12 empty seats.
Yeah.
You're like, no, wait. Slow down, Steve.
Yeah.
You're the most important thing.
Yep.
You like to say while your attendance is expected, it is not taken for granted.
Put that on my tombstone. For people that come to visit my grave and be like,
Your attendance.
thank you. I never expected you to come visit me, but thank you. I'm glad you chose to. Maybe you noticed.
Good band director phrases for the tombstone.
Yeah.
I always told you I played a little flat.
Hey. You did? I did.
Oh, because you're underground?
I know.
On the-
I got
flattened
that.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that a little dark? I don't know.
No, that's good. So, teaching from the light, the most effective. I forgot to start my watch. I don't even know how long.
Cue 10 minutes ago when you said it's bad etiquette to be on your phone on the podcast.
Well, I just want to see the time.
Thank you for making the choice to put that down. Hey, do you know the computer shows the time? Do you know that? It's really hard to see. That's why we never used it. But we could bring it closer someday. It gives us a little countdown. Or count
Yeah,
up.
but we start earlier. Don't you start the?
It just
Okay,
depends.
okay.
I don't know.
So, I think this goes well with teaching in the light or from the light, and then being authentic as a teacher. And successful teachers are themselves, and then hopefully that you are success. Part of your success is you're teaching from the light, and you have those ideas that you expect everybody's trying the best they can,
Yes.
and that everybody wants to be there, right?
What do you tell a teacher that's like, they want to be authentic, but authentic isn't teaching from the light? in some
Well, I
moments?
was just thinking that as I said that there's people that live their life that way.
In which way? That they don't live in the light?
No. Good Lord, no. It's like the smell on your shoe. It's like, why does your shoe smell? If your shoe smells everywhere you go, if it smells like poo everywhere you go, you better check your shoe. It's not because there's so many landmines out there. It's because you are carrying the scent.
And we see every teacher, I'm assuming, sees students that have that every day. That like every day is kind of like a drama fire
Yes.
for some students, and you kind of know like to expect that, and like trying to teach that to kids.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. I mean, yes, there are adults out there. None are coming to my mind that I'm working with at all. But I mean, there are certainly people that work that way. Maybe teachers, maybe just professionals. But once you start to find, like, this sounds very hallmarky, but once you start choosing to teach from the light, it gets a lot easier the more you do it. And that kind of just becomes the standard.
Correct.
And consistent. And the consistency really helps everything in your classroom and your kids and your relationships with the kids. I mean, that's big.
I don't think it's easy all the time, and I think it is a choice.
Ooh, can I hot take?
Yeah.
I think teaching from the light, I don't know if you'll agree with this. Teaching from the light means sometimes you do have to get angry.
Why?
Because it's not authentic. One, it's not authentic to be happy, joyous all the time for an entire school year with 0 moments that you get grumpy with your kids.
Okay.
Two, sometimes I think the kids need to know that they're not doing that well, and you can.
Why can't you just tell them?
Why can't you just tell them
That you're not
in a normal way?
Yeah, saying that's not your best. Try it again. Do you have to get grumpy?
I think students sniff out the lack of authenticity, and I think if there is a little moment of the authenticity, I think they buy it better than they would without. And when I say grumpy, I don't mean mean. I think there's a difference of grumpy and mean.
Right.
I think it's okay to show your students
Well,
your
when you get
frustration
grumpy though,
occasionally.
isn't that an indicator though that you are not buying their effort? Because why would you get grumpy if their effort's okay? Maybe they're just not. Maybe
right.
they can't do it.
You're right. I don't think I've ever gotten grumpy when the effort's good. But
Got him.
Okay, here's the difference though. Like, sometimes I think it's healthy for the students to see a teacher's frustration on a.
Okay, that's good. I do.
Not all the time.
No, I think it's okay.
When necessary.
I'm just kind of trolling you a little bit.
Gee, shocker.
But
Name of the episode: Steve Trolls Jack. Actually, that'd just be the name of the show.
Troll.
Steve Trolls Jack. Welcome to another episode of Troll Podcast with your host Troll Peterson and Jack Hinkle. Steve Trollerson.
Got another one on the line.
Gosh.
No, I think that's true though. Now I forgot what we were talking about.
Showing kids you're frustrated on occasion.
Yeah, I think that's fine. But you were saying you don't normally get frustrated if their effort level's high.
That's on me. If their effort level's high and they're not achieving, then I am
Your
a problem.
expectations are too high or not
Yes.
realistic.
Yeah, something's
Or
wrong with
you've
me.
not taught the system well.
Or I'm just a horrible teacher. All could be true.
All could be true.
Find out next week. No, just kidding. Okay. You got anything else on this one?
I think that's like a kind of like a tough one, I think, teaching from the light.
It sounds so hokey.
It does sound hokey.
And if I was a teacher listening to this, I'd be like, I don't buy you guys.
Stupid.
You're
I'm
stupid.
gonna go watch Little House on the Prairie. Yeah.
Go reading or watch episodes of Reading Rainbow.
Hello. Reading Rainbow.
I wouldn't buy our shtick if I was listening to that for the first time.
That sounds a little wishy-washy, teaching from the light. Sounds like something you'd get. It's like
you wrap it up in a nice little bow.
it's
but
like something
not that.
Heidi Snyder would talk about with grade school teachers in kindergarten.
It is a little like puppies and rainbows, but it's the concept of it is like so real, and every teacher should do it.
Well, and I think what we're talking, aren't we? Isn't this like psychology? Are we talking about psychology?
We do have a psychology expert listener.
I know,
They
but
get
that's
back
like
with
we're
us.
talking about. We're like talking about how we're thinking and how we're connecting. It's a lot what we talk about.
I think it matters a lot. It matters a lot more than the notes and the rhythms.
Yep.
So they say. I think the other half of this that we're not talking about, and I don't know if it even matters, but are students choosing to learn from the light?
That's a whole different one, Jack. No. No.
Kidding? No.
No, students are not choosing to learn from the light.
That sounds like what a dark side teacher would say, Steve.
Oh, gosh, I just got trolled by myself.
Jack 1, Steve 70.
Maybe. I don't know.
Isn't that the tenet of teaching from the light is you have to assume students do the good, the whole that they're starting from the good?
Wow.
Can I give you a good line a kid said today?
No, yeah.
Here's a good one.
I have one too, but I can't say it because it was so vulgar. And I was like, back it up.
Are you for real?
Yeah, I was like in a I was in a conversation like about 2 orbits away in a hallway.
Oh, it wasn't at you. It was just
No, but they
floating in the
they knew I
distance.
was there, and they replayed what somebody had said. I was like, back it up. This time you're going to say beep instead of the word you just played. They did. Okay.
day in the life. Piano class. Kid on phone. This was a different kid than the first
Yeah.
kid on phone. I just look at him. He's like, I'm just texting my friend. Normally, when phones came out, it started with I'm just checking the time, right? And then that was like 2011, 2012, like when kids had phones all the time. Then like 2017 rolls around, and they're on their phone. They're like, I'm just texting my mom. I'm just texting my mom. And today it was, I'm just texting my friend. I'm like, right. Stop.
That's funny because I had 2 episodes today, one in a piano class and one in a band class. I said to student number 1, hey, is everything okay? Yeah, my grandpa just wants me to mow his lawn. He keeps on bothering me. Okay, so that's one. I
Let's
said,
get on.
does your grandpa know you're in school? Number 2, student in a class. Hey, I just said, hey, is everything okay with your mom? Because I assumed, and he goes, actually, it was my mom. And I go, well, is she okay? Because I, usually want to say, gee, it must be really serious if you're choosing to be on your phone right now. Gosh, yeah, that's okay. I mean, it's like, that's kid stuff.
It's fascinating. It evolved. It's evolved. I'll start doing that. I'll just get on my phone in the middle of teaching. Like, oh, sorry, I was just ordering coffee on Amazon. That's my new vice.
Okay.
So that's our charge to you, Chops Nation.
This little lot of mine.
Didn't you play that at my commencement? No, not my commencement.
Yes.
At the year after.
Yes, I played that.
Play that on your saxophone. Play it on tenor.
The whole crowd clapping on 2 and 4. I think
Hey, that's a win right there.
I think, but I got some of the jazz kids. I said, hey, if I take this up, you got to
Right.
get my back here.
Because the East Side's
Yeah,
kids
the
in the
Eastside
crowd, they
kids
go
are
on
1 and 3.
That's our challenge to you, Chops Nation.
Teach from the light.
Just live in the light if you're not a teacher, Assume that people are doing their best.
Assume the best out of people.
And assume that everyone in the room is smarter than you in some way. Because if you assume that no one cares and that you're the smartest person around, that's a lame life to live.
Well, that's teaching from the darkness.
That's teaching from the dark.
You live your life in a beanbag. You are going nowhere.
Luke,
Right?
I am your father.
Right? That's sad.
That's not good.
That's
No.
not good.
You got to be Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Woo!
Dude,
Okay,
we
you
gotta
got to
end
go.
this episode. We got rehearsals tonight.
We got rehearsals, kids. Okay, so check us out on Instagram at chops_podcast, TikTok. We've had some fun in the last week on Instagram and TikTok. We've had some traffic, so check
Yeah.
that out. Check us out on YouTube if you want to see our fresh faces, or you can check us out on Chops Podcast on Apple or Spotify.
Okay, we need a third review. Someone hook us up on Apple. We need a third review.
We
We've
have
had
2 of
two
them?
for a while. We've had 2 for a while.
Texas
Someone
and Michigan.
hook us up with a third review. And if we know you or we see you in our normal lives, we'll give you a high five for it.
Oh.
Free high five from us. Give us a third review.
That's good. Okay.
Okay.
We'll
Burrito
be
bowl.
back.
No, stir fry tonight. What are you doing?
See, I'm probably going to go to the local grocery store, pick up a deli sandwich, a Sprite Zero, drive out in the country for 20 minutes, drive south, turn around, come back, listen to Kentucky Sports Radio.
And
That's what I
then-
do. And make some phone calls.
There you go. A little bit of symphonic dance on the way
Yep.
back. Okay. For Jack Hinkle.
And Steve Peterson. We're out of here.
See ya.